إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let me begin by asking you a question. Have you ever heard of the 5 necessary things that help the religion to operate, or how the religion operates? 5 necessary things that if one is missing, that you would have turmoil, chaos within the practice of religion. Have you ever heard of this? Anyone ever heard of it? Just show me by hands. Okay, barakallahu feekum. Let me ask you another question. Among the men here, how many of you are teachers of Islam or a subject other than Islam? 1, 2, 3. طيب. Obviously, we need more teachers, don't we? Because if we're going to talk about children, and we're going to talk about cultivating them, as you heard from the ulama, hafidhahumullah, part of cultivating them is to be able to teach them. And part of teaching them is to be able to have them in a place to teach them. But we're not going to talk about that right now. But what I want to talk about are those 5 essential things first. The cultivation of children is one of the essential necessities of life for a Muslim individual and for the whole Muslim community. Because when I ask the question, why am I here? Why am I sitting here? And you should also ask yourself, why are you sitting there? Because that helps to make things clear. Because then you'll know what your next step will be. In order to build things, you have to take things one step at a time, and all the steps have to be clear. They're known as goals. So if you're going to build something, and because that is what we all say, how many of us have said we are trying to build community? Now, we have many of us said these words. We are building community. So it's essential to cultivate children. It's necessary to build community. I want to discuss a word with you known as ad-darura. Ad-darura. Ad-darura means something which is necessary. Or rather, ad-darura, according to Islam, هي التي لا بد منها في قيام مصلحة الدين والدنيا لجماعات والأفراد بحيث لا يستقيم النظام باختلالها. It means a necessity. It is something that's absolutely essential for the beneficial establishment of the religion and the worldly affairs of groups and individuals. It is steps that's necessary and things that people who practice the religion of Islam have to keep intact if they really want to build community. To make that word a reality, there have to be certain things that people are working on and they are building. Because if you don't have these 5 things intact, the proper organization cannot be achieved without them. You can't organize something. You can't have an Arabic word known as nizam. Familiar with the word? An-nizam. It means to have things organized. The nizam of your salah is what? Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. That's the nizam of your salah. You have a nizam of Ramadan, the nizam of Hajj, the way it's organized, the way it comes. And if these necessary essential aspects, if they're damaged or if they're lost, the condition of the individual or the ummah or the community will change to something which is corrupt, and it will turn into turmoil. The exact opposite of what Islam came to remove from the world. Depravity, corruption, turmoil, and loss of life. What is meant by turmoil here? Tahir al-Ashur said, the loss of proper infrastructure of the ummah does not mean total destruction. And he says that because there have been other societies that were deep-seated in paganism, shirk yani, and they were deep-seated in barbarism, but their community didn't get destroyed. But it means that the loss of the Ummah's foundation and its correct foundation would mean that the Ummah will start to resemble cattle, meaning they will be going from here to there, and they won't know where they're going. So when you and I say we're going to build community, it's for us to understand what that means and who is supposed to do it. If we don't understand the who, what, where, how, and why we are doing something, it is impossible to do. Are there any questions? Give me a break. I've talked long enough. Are there any questions? None. Yes. I haven't done. No, I have not yet. Barakallah feek. I haven't mentioned them yet. I haven't said what they are. 5 things. What are these 5 things? They are, first of all, the deen, preservation of the religion of Islam. Secondly, human life, the maqasid al-sharia, the preservation of human life. Third, the human intellect. What is the mind? What is intellect? The intellect is a light that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to human beings so they'll be able to tell the difference between a harmful thing and a beneficial thing, and between an evil thing and a good thing. That's why people have mind. Al-aqlu. أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Are you going to call people to goodness and forget about it your own self? وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ, and you also read the book? أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you not use your intellect to know right from wrong? And this was addressed to who? Bani Israel. Addressed to Bani Israel. Because Bani Israel took the position of telling the people right from wrong. Bani Israel were the ones who stood as the ones who was chosen to tell the people right from wrong, but they themselves were not practicing how to divide right from wrong. And that made them what? The very famous statement about them in Surah Al-Fatiha, it made them maghdubi alayhim. Maghdubi alayhim. A maghdubi alayhim is the one who knows and does not apply what he knows. And the dhalun is who? The one who does not know and tries to achieve beneficial deeds without knowledge. He is a dhalun. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. Sirat al-ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayri al-maghdubi alayhim. Wala dhalin. Therefore, the loss of what's absolutely necessary is something that will cause the destruction of the ummah. The 5 matters that occupy this place of necessity are: 1, again, the deen, the matters connected to the religion of al-Islam. 2, an-nafs, preservation of human life. 3, al-aql, the preservation of human intellect. 4, an-nasl, an-nasl, this is the preservation of the progeny, the children, the family structure. A society that will not preserve its family structure and its children will have its future completely destroyed, because there'll be no one to take their place after they die. Presently, you and I are living through watching certain children become 2 types of enemies. Enemies inside their household and enemies to the society. Therefore, they are the ones who were misled or miseducated. Sheikh Salih Ibn Abdul Aziz Al Sheikh said in his essay called Human Rights, Human Freedoms, he said, Al-Hurriya, freedom, la tujid hurriya mutlaqa. He said, you will not find absolute freedom anywhere. Is everybody okay with this? You all right with this? You do not find absolute freedom anywhere, because a lot of our actions come from the idea that we can do what we want, that we are not locked into anything. Some of us are not locked into anything. We do what we feel and we do what we want. But this is unreality. This is not real. And so anyone who feels this is living himself or living his life outside of reality. He said, لا توجد حرية مطلقة لأن جعل الناس أحرارا مطلقة يتصرفون كيف يشاءون في أي مجال من المجالات. He said freedom is not something absolute, wherein people are absolutely free to do whatever they want in whatever possible way they want to. He said هذا ضد لمصلحة الناس بإجماعهم وأن المصلحة الناس ومصلحة المجتمع ومصلحة الأمة مقدمة على مصلحة الفرد بخصوصه باتفاق الشرائع وباتفاق المبادئ. He said, Habibullah Ta'ala, he said, people assuming absolute freedom to do whatever they want to do, it opposes the general benefit of human welfare, human safety. No one has that, right? People assuming absolute freedom opposes the general welfare of the people. People who think they're absolutely free to do whatever they want, it opposes the welfare of the society. People who are free to do whatever they want, it opposes the welfare of the betterment of the ummah. And the benefit of the ummah takes precedence, rather is preferred over the benefit of the individual. The benefit of the ummah always takes precedence over the benefit of the individual. No one can take his ball because he feels like it and walk off the court just because he doesn't like the playing field. An attitude in which a person becomes a loner and stays a loner because he assumes by being a loner and being alone to do what he wants to do, that makes him free. No, that makes him suffer and make us suffer a loss of his resources. Because to build community, you need resources. You need human resources and you need material resource. The Salafi community has the resources, but we're not pooling our resources. We do not pool our resources. If anyone would like to oppose that, I'm glad to hear say that we do pool them, but we have not been pooling them. The reasons Allah Ta'ala knows best. Like, yep. So the ummah takes precedence over the individual. This is in legislation and in principle. Well, the Shaykh goes on, he said, وَلِهَذَا كَفَلَ الْإِسْلَامُ وَكَلَفَتَ الشَّرِيعَ الْإِسْلام للإنسان حرية عظيمة في أمور كثيرة لكن بحيث تصب هذه الحرية في مصالح التي جاء الإسلام لرعايتها. He said, nevertheless, Islam and Islamic law has granted human beings great freedoms in many areas. However, these freedoms must be applied within the beneficial auspices that was brought to human beings by al-Islam. And a person cannot apply himself outside of al-Islam. Here we're in February. The African Americans have taken the whole month to talk about the history of their lack of freedom. 30 days. 30 days of what? Rebellion against this or that, or to complain or to express concern about captivity? La. No one in this room is in that ilk. We're not about that. So the Shaykh goes on to say, it is known that Islamic legislation came to achieve for people the perfection of beneficial achievement and the reduction of corruption and evil, if not totally eradicate all evil and all corruption. He said also, the legislation came with the responsibility of preserving and maintaining the 5 essential and absolutely necessary matters that without them, human life cannot progress with rectitude, integrity, and correctness. Here again, without these 5 things intact, without having control over them, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, then we cannot go forward without working on them according to the law. And they are the preservation of the religion, the preservation of human life, the preservation of the wealth, the preservation of the human intellect, al-aql, the preservation of the progeny or the honor, the way in which we have and the way in which we teach and the way in which we cultivate children. So whoever says that this issue is not important or is not central to the deen and its development and the growth of its community is mistaken. Finally, the words of Abdullah ibn Abdul Rahman al-Bassam, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his explanation in the introduction to Tawdih al-Ahkam, which is one of the explanations of Bulugh al-Maram, he says, أما ضروريات فإنه لا بد منها في قيام مصالح الدين والدنيا بحيث إذا فقدت لم تجري مصالح الدنيا على استقامة بل على فساد وفي آخرة تؤدي إلى فوات النجاة والنعيم وحصول الخسران المبين. Translation of which is, regarding the necessities, they must be established to have the existence of the correct religious and worldly presence. Religious and world. Deen and dunya together. You cannot be happy. We cannot find happiness in the deen unless we have some say-so and influence over the way the dunya is governed. And I'm not talking about government. I'm talking about you and your household. You run the religion a certain way. You spend money a certain way on certain things. You buy books. You want your children educated in certain schools. Unless you have some influence in that issue, you'll not be happy. Those who are children going to public schools now, you are the test. Are you happy? Those whose children go to schools that are not exactly Salafi, are you happy? Somebody said yes. La, he said la, not. We do what we have to do, but we know there's something more, and we want to feel more relaxed and more secure. So he said, the correct religious and mundane presence, if these things are lost, the affairs of the world will not attain uprightness. Rather, they will be corrupt. And in the hereafter, they will be devoid of success and splendor. People will not have a na'im without having the success of these things in their worldly affairs. Instead, they will have a manifest loss. وحفظها يكون بقيام أركانها وتثبيت قواعدها كما يكون بما يدرأ عنها الاختلال الواقع أو متوقع فيها. The Shaykh goes on and says the preservation of the necessities is achieved by applying its integral parts, its arkan. So all those five things, they have arkan to them. The arkan is the plural of the word rukun. And the rukun is something that if you take it away, you don't have that thing. So he said the first thing, all of the arkan have to be applied. First, has to be firmly grounded in the rules of operation. Their preservation is also achieved by averting from it these aspects of necessity, averting from it any real or anticipated defectiveness, deficiency, or disturbances. And then he talks about these five things again. He talks about the deen. He talks about the intellect. He talks about human life. Talks about wealth and progeny, the children. And he breaks it down. These five things now, they're broken down into categories. He said all of the foundations of the acts of worship are found in preservation of the deen. And then he said all of the cultural issues and the habits of the people are found in the issues of human life. the way people live. And then he said that all of the mu'amalat, or the interaction between the people, are found in the way that they marry, and the way they raise their children, and the way they get, spend, and preserve their wealth. So this minhaj deals with tazkiyah of aqidah, the tazkiyah of al-ibadah, the tazkiyah of al-mu'amalat, the tazkiyah of as-suluk. In these things, the education of and purification of these things from deficiencies and disturbances, whether they are present or because of the experience of the people, they know what to anticipate because they live in a certain place and understand it. Are there any questions? Well done. No, I said that the minhaj, the Salafi, deals with aspects. It deals with what? The tazkiyah, learning and purifying in the areas of aqidah, being cultivated, and purification in the area of ibadah. Cultivation and purification in the area of mu'amalat, the mutual interaction between people. It has its own fiqh. Those things such as marriage, such as the parent and child relationship, the tazkiyah, and the cultivation and the purification of issues of suluk, the person's individual character. Excuse me. So therefore, let's talk briefly about mu'amala. In the issue of mu'amala, relationships, حياة الإنسان في هذه الدنيا دائرة بين معاملة الحق سبحانه ومعاملة الخلق بين إنس وجن وحيوانات ونباتات وجمادات وغيرها. This chapter of this book, فقه المعاملة بين الناس, how to understand the interactions between people, the Shaykh begins to say by saying that all of the life of people is a cycle of interaction between giving Allah His rights, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and giving the rights to all of the creation. Now, this is a little bit beyond children now. Children are part of the creation. But the interaction between the people and the jinn and the animals and the plants and substances. وَلَحَسْبَ هَذِي الْمُعَامَلَةِ يَكُونُ جَزَاءَ الْإِنسَانِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. The way human beings interact in all these issues is how they gain a reward from Allah in the hereafter. If they are good at it, they gain a good reward. The way they treated the creation, the way they treated their home, the way they treated the environment. They gain a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based upon that. فَإِذَا أَحْسَنَ فِي مُعَامَلَ اللَّهِ. If we are good in the way we have a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, بأن حبه وعدمه وشكر آلائه ونعمه وطاعة أوامره واجتناب نواهيه. And if we're good in our interaction between ourselves and Allah, meaning that we obey Him, that we thank Him for His favors, that we obey His commandments, that we stay away from His prohibitions, and we also are good to the creation as Allah has commanded us, and we help them, and we're good to them, and we are just between them, and we are kind to them, and we take the harm they give to us, and we keep our harm from them. And we are able to accept a level of harm while trying to establish our religion, and our families, and we are able to take a level of harm, and we are able to give back goodness in the place of harm. لا يستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. This is found in the religion of al-Islam. It is not found where, how many accepted Islam? How many people here became Muslims? Barakallahu fikum. It was not found in the environment where we came from. Where we came from, people gave harm for harm and are accustomed to seeing harm exchanged for harm, and are accustomed to thinking that harming someone equally as good is the strong thing to do. But in the religion of Islam, in the beginning of the da'wah, when people are calling other people to the religion, and when they're raising their children, they have to be able to withstand harm from the ones who do not know and give them back good. In other words, they have to have faith that good works. They have to have faith in goodness and not faith in evil. And so therefore, we have a mother who wrote, one of the ulama, she said, I got married when I was 15 years old. She said, when I got married and I had a baby, she said, the baby's cries drove me up the wall. Baby's crying. Because there are some people who cannot even take the crying of a baby. And so you read in papers where sometimes really foolish men murder children because the baby was crying. She said, I couldn't take it. She said, so when the child was 1 year old, I began to hit the child, to tell the child to be quiet. She said he was 1. This is in Arabic. She said, I hit him at 1 year old. She said, I hit him to be quiet. She said, and now my child is older and in school and he's fine. She said, but what I did back then, it bothers me still. She said, it bothers me still that I hit him so young. It bothers me that I struck him as a baby. So the sheikh said to her, if a child is fine now, she said, I have nedam. She said, I'm sad about it all the time. She said, my tawbah, will Allah accept my tawbah? Will he take from me my tawbah? And the sheikh said, if you really feel the sadness, it was Sheikh Afifi. Rahmatullahi alayhi. He said, if you really feel the sadness, la shay alayk. He said, but you were wrong to hit the baby. You were wrong to hit the small child. Because when we get married young, we have to be trained as parents. We can't assume that it comes naturally with the territory. Knowledge comes before everything what someone does and says. So if he's going to raise children, he has to have knowledge of it. Or he'd find himself nervous and out of sort about having to raise a child that he himself helped to give birth to. So the mu'amala is very necessary for us. إن العلاقة بين الآباء والأبناء علاقة تبادلية وتجاوبية مشتركة. The Sheikh says that the relationship between fathers and their children is something of compensation. It's a give and take. كلما شعر الولد بحرص والديه عليه, the more a child can sense his parents' concern for him, وعطفهما وحنانهما عليه, the more they can sense his emotion for him, love for him, and tenderness for the child, and the exertion on the part of the parents for the child, من أجله كان أكثر برًا بهما. He will return that feeling he got from his parents with goodness toward them. As you know that being disrespectful to parents is a major sin. But if a child feels from the parents the tiredness and the exertion that he's putting forward for that child, then the child will return it, inshallah ta'ala. And as the Shaykh said, bi'idhnillah, will return it with goodness. وَأَخْلَاصًا لَهُمَا وَحِرْصًا عَلَى أَدَاءِ حَقِّهِمَا. And the child will be focused upon giving their parents the rights. وَإِمَّا إِذَا شَعَرَ الْوَلَدْ بِجَفَاءِ وَالِدِهِ وَإِعْتِرَاضٍ عَنْهُ وَعَدَمِ اهْتِمَامِهِ. If the child consents from the parent that the parent has a lack of attention toward the child, that the father has a lack of attention toward the child, and turns away from the child and is too busy and not concerned. واشتغاله عن تربيته إصلاح حاله, and he's so busy that he can't concern himself with cultivating his child, or he's busy with his business, or he's busy with his money, or he's too busy traveling, or بزوجته أخرى, or he's too busy with his other wife. If a child senses that, فإن علاقته وصلته بوالده سيكون الفطرة باردة. The Sheikh said that if he senses that from the father, that he's just too busy to give emotion to the child, he said the relationship between them will be baridة. It'll be cold. It won't have the love between them. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة والصلاة وبارك المقام المحمود الذي وعدته. Where is it? Did it pay right away? Where's the okay. وكذلك حال النسبة للوالدة. The same thing for the mother. فإنها إن أهملت ولدها. If she neglects her child, تخلت عن واجبها, and she doesn't do what's essential for her to do as a mother in her service to her child and to care for the child, and she gives the affair to a servant, وصرفت أكثر وقتها بعيدة عن أولادها, and she spends most of her time away from the child, فلا تنتظر في أولادها برها. She should not expect from them that they're going to be good to her. So in other words, as the Sheikh began by saying, these two things, they're an exchange. The parents show concern for the children give back their concern to their parents. The parents show no concern for the children, they don't get concern in return. But awlad ghars aba, the children are the seedlings of the parents. And they are the crop of the hearts of the parents. فإن كان الوالد حريصا على رعاية غرسه, if he's in control and has concern for the way he grows, and he cares for it, and he keeps it away from the weeds and corruption, then inshallah ta'ala it will be a happy situation for the family. يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما من مولود إلا يولد على فطرة فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسه. The Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم said that every child is born upon fitra, but it's the parents who yuhawidanahu, they give him the values of Bani Israel, or yunasiranahu, they give him the values of Christians. أو يمجسه. Or they give him the values of Magians. فالمولود يولد على توحيد والفطرة السليمة قابلة للخير. So every child is born with this nature that it's inclined toward tawheed and a sound nature and is inclined toward goodness. Unlike what you and I were taught when we were Christians, that every child was inclined toward sin. لا. وهو بين يدي والدي كعجينة لينة يشكلها كيفما شاء. And he said the child is like in the father like soft dough in the hands of the parents. They can shape the child in any fashion they will to shape him in, if they understand how to shape him. It's like a clear mirror with no marks in it. وَقَدْ جَعَلَ رِعَايَةَ الْأَوْلَادِ أَمَانَةً فِي أَعْنَاقِ الْآبَاءِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed the raising of the children, the care for them, on the necks of who? The necks of the fathers. فقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تخونوا الله والرسول وتخونوا أماناتكم وأنتم تعلمون واعلموا أنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة وأن الله عنده أجر عظيم. Oh, you who are believers, do not cheat your Allah and His Messenger and cheat your trusts, and you know better. And understand that your wealth and your children are a test, and that verily Allah has a great reward. فَنَهَا عَنْ خِيَانَةُ أَمَانَاتٍ. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the verse, He prohibits that people should cheat their trusts. And the biggest trust they have is their children. فَإِنَّهُمْ وَإِنْ كَانُوا قُرَّةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَثَمَارُ الْقُلُوبِ وَزِينَةَ حَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, because they are the pleasure for the eyes and they are pleasure for the hearts and the beauty from the world. إِلَّا أَنَّهُمْ أَمَانَةً. However, they are all that, but they are also a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to the parents. A greater trust. إِنَّهُمْ أَمَانَةً كُبْرَى لَدَى أُمُّهَاتِ وَالْآبَاءِ. They are a great trust to the mothers and the fathers. سَيَسْأَلُونَ عَنْهَا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And they will be asked about this trust the day of judgment. وَلِهَذَا قَالَ تَعَالَى وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ. And for this reason, Allah says they are a fitna, because they are a test to their parents, that their parents will be asked about the day of judgment. Meaning they are a means toward a test. They are a means toward a trial. Their condition is like every other ni'mah that a person gets. Because when a person gets a ni'mah, they're supposed to do what? Care for the ni'mah. The brotherhood is a ni'mah. We're supposed to care for the brotherhood. فَأَصْبَحْتُم مِّن نِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. The brotherhood is a ni'mah. So we have to care for the ni'mah of the brotherhood. And the children are a ni'mah. So we have to care for the ni'mah of the children. And we can't wait for someone else initially to do it for us. Everyone who has children has to be involved in this ni'mah. Allah tests people with a ni'mah. He tests His servants to see what they're going to do. Will they thank Him for His favor, or will they deny Him that it was ever a favor? Will they establish the rights and fear Him in them? And will they use it in a way that He wanted them to when He submitted it to them? And will they use it to serve His deen? Am ala aks min hada? Or will it be the opposite of all this? Whoever thanks Allah for the ni'mah of children and strives to work with them based upon islahihim, what's better for them, and caring for them, and being good at cultivating them and preparing them, فَإِن فَعَلْتَ فَأَبْشِرْ بِحُسْنِ الْعَاقِبَةِ. If you do this, then get the glad tidings of a good reward in the end. وَجَزِيلٌ الْمَثُوبَةِ وَقَالَ تَعَالَى وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. And verily with Allah is a great reward. لأن الله تعالى يعلم مقدار الأمانة التي يتحملها الآباء. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the measurement of the test, and He knows the measurement of the trust that He gave to the fathers when He gave them the children. So when the father has children, Allah knew the measurement of a test that He would have to perform. He knew the measurement of the trust that He would have to perform with His children. It wasn't like He didn't know when He gave the fathers the children. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. And He knew the measurement of the striving that the father would have to go through in cultivating his children. وَبِخَاص فِي هَذَا الزَّمَنِ الَّذِي كَثُرَتْ فِيهِ فِتَنٌ. Especially now, in a time when fitna is multiplied many times over in many different ways. It is not a time for a child to be left without his father, because fitna now heading at children multiplied many, many times over. Many, many times. As Sheikh Fawzan said, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, it has all types of smells. It has all types of looks. It has all types of names. And even the Muslim youth have now, with their long beards, decided to be hip-hop stars and to attract the youth to be their fans. What's the word fan short for? Fanatic. To attract them to be their fanatics. And the sports figures, to attract them to be their fanatics. And who else is there? Any bling bling, half-educated man with a pair of boxing gloves or the ability to rhyme poems is now a fitna, because he appears to be an individual who has made it without the Jama'ah. He appears to be someone who's free to do whatever he wants to do. This is the illusion that is being woven for the children, so they will be attracted to the life that they think is a life of grandeur, a life of ease, a life of being a strong individual. So it's for you and I to work together, Ibadullah, step by step. So what's the first step? Where do we go from here? That's rhetorical. I have no idea. But I'm going to say it to you as my brothers. That's okay for me to say. Why should I sit here and say, well, I've got a plan, and here's my plan. I'm going to tell you what it is right now, and we're all going to jump right out and do it. But there is something that has to be removed from our midst. I can't see it here. If I had a window, I would be able to see through the window. That's called being transparent. It's called being clear, like a window. Being able to see straight through. We don't need lack of trust. If you don't trust someone, you have to ask yourself why you don't trust them. If you don't think that someone is doing right by something, ask why. If it's something you want to correct someone about, show manners and etiquette and bring your brother to the side and talk to him. We can't learn from innuendo. You know what I mean? Where somebody is trying to say something about somebody, but he ain't quite said it, so we don't know what he's saying. Just say it straight. We're men. Part of manhood, say it. Say it to that person. So that person will know what you're saying. Use hikmah. Because lack of trust is like quicksand. It just drags everybody down. And no one can move. because no one knows where to go and no one knows who to trust. Nah. You hear the ulama speak on the speakers, alhamdulillah, those people listen to the ulama. If you hear it across town and they listen to the ulama and the speakers, those people trust the ulama and they listen to them. Is there something else? Let's not make this more difficult than it is. There's correction. People make mistakes. A mistake is expected from the one who have a deep understanding of things. Mistake is expected from anyone like that. Let the person make the mistake. Kulli bani Adam khata'un. Barakallahu fi. Wa khayru. Kulli bani Adam khutta'. Hakada khutta'. Kulli bani Adam khutta'. Everybody's mistaken. Wa khayru khata'in atawabun. Those people who make tawbah. Because lack of trust is pulling us down, making it very difficult for us. Also, the lack of preparedness to do jobs in the community. Now, I have to say, we have seen societies working. We've been to Saudi, we've been to Kuwait, some of us, we've been to UAE, we've seen our brothers working, we've seen them working in all spheres of life in the Muslim community. Now, this is not the Muslim community, this is not the Muslim society. But there are some things that we have to get on board with, teaching our children. How many people here are good at math? Alhamdulillah. Usually it's like nobody. Just tease it. I'm not. We'll tell you barakallahu fi. Chemistry? Usually if you're good at math, you had chemistry? Were you good at it? No. It's okay. We'll hold it against you. There goes my theory out the window. You can't, it's not a good tape, is it? No. Just talking to people. What can I say? But we have to encourage more education in the brothers, more preparedness to teach, more preparedness to be aware, more self-awareness, more preparedness. طيب العلم before العمل. How many high school people? Graduates. I'm a GED man myself. Okay. It's okay. My point trying to make is that if you're able to specialize, how many people thought about teaching? It crossed their mind that they want to be a teacher. It's a special love. It's a special love. Are you in? Are you in now? You teaching now? You are. Elementary ed? Barakallah fi. Elementary education. Huh? Pre-K? 4 or 5. Anybody else? Going? What are you in? Huh? You teaching now? I mean, you gotta call your comment now. Huh? Yes. Yeah, I thought we did. I just waiting for you to. الإقامة على الإمام مش على التكلم. Thank you. Barakallahu feekum. Barakallahu feekum. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. هذا وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد